Let's look at how we can calculate weighted averages on Excel 2016 for Mac. We're going to use the sum product function. Now, what is a weighted average? Why are we going to use the sum product function? Well, let's take an example. Suppose we had two candidates that we were considering for a position, and we want to be as objective as possible. So we've collected different data on them. We've collected information on their work experience. We've gone through their resume and made a subjective judgment on how important their work experience is. We've looked at the quality of their education. They each have two interviewed. We've given them a cognitive ability test and an integrity test. And now we have the data for the two candidates. For work experience, candidate 2's higher. For education, candidate 1 is higher. In interview 1, candidate 1 did much better. But in interview 2, candidate 2 did much better. The cognitive ability test, candidate 1 did better, and candidate 1 did better on the integrity test also. So how are we going to do this? We could just add up the scores and average them since they all seem to be like on a 0 to a 100 scale. We also could weight them and say what ones are more important. And generally, you don't want to give too much importance to cognitive ability tests or integrity tests for various reasons. So we're only going to weight those 10% each, and we're going to give 20% to the others. So I have divided the weight up into a total of 100 points, and I've given 20, 20, 20, and 20 to the first four, and 10 to the other. And then that total weight I have added together, and I've used the sum formula to make sure it added up to 100. In fact, it wouldn't matter if it added up to 100. It could add up to 120 or 110. We just need to take that into consideration when we do the weighted average. Now, for candidate 1, we want to weight each of his scores or her scores and see what kind of composite score we can get to her. So I click in the square. I'm going to use an Excel function, so I'm going to type equal sum product. Now, sum product is going to take one column of numbers and multiply them by the corresponding values in another column. So the sum product, and we are going to take the weight. So starting with B4, I'm going to press Shift down arrow, get to B9, and that's it. Aha, that's weight in table 1. So it took out the specific values and put that in. I'm going to put in comma, and I'm going to go over to candidate 1, and I'm going to do Shift down arrow again and get all those, and that says, aha, you're doing this for candidate 1. Yes, that's correct. And then we're going to do Shift close parentheses. Now that'll give the sum product, but we want to get the weighted average, so we need to divide this by the total weight, which is in B11. So I'm going to divide by B11, because that way I could have just typed 100, but maybe we want to change the weights later and we could still use this formula. So I press enter, and we got a score of 81. Uh-oh, look at that. I put it in the wrong cell. So let's see if we can control copy, and I'm going to push this down here and do control V, and look, I got an error. Let's see, what is the problem there? The problem is that when I moved cells, it went from B11 to B12, and we really want B11. So I'm going to type in B11, and I'm going to put in the dollar signs so that if I ever move this again, it won't move. The dollar sign says, hey, don't ever change those cell references even if you move the cell. So do that. Now we've got 81. I'm going to delete this here. And so candidate 1 has a score of 81. Now I'm going to do the same thing for candidate 2. Well, I could just drag this over, but then we're going to it'll do the cross product for candidate 1 and candidate 2. Let's start over again here. Let's do equals sum product, open parenthesis, and we're going to do the weight. So I click the first one, shift down arrow. Now I do a comma. I'm going to go to candidate 2, shift down arrow, and now I'm going to do close parentheses, and I'm going to divide by. Now this time I'm going to remember to fix the position of B11. I'm going to do $B, so that B row will never change, $11, so that never changes, and I press enter, and we get a score of 81.5. So using this weighting system, candidate B, well, highlight in yellow, is the preferred candidate. Candidate 2 got the higher score than candidate 1, and we should make an offer to candidate 2. And so this is how we calculate weighted averages in Excel.